Fowler deals specifically with faith. So I chose these theorists particularly to hit the physical, mental, social, emotional, and spiritual. So Fowler is one of the few that tries to tackle faith. So the first is the primal or the indifferentiated. So I'm just trying to survive here. Like, I can't think about anything more than what's right now. I need food. I need a place to live. I like just real basic. Next is the intuitive and projective. And this is the prove it, show me. Like, if there is a God, there will be a pile of ice cream for me to eat right here, right now. Oh, no ice cream, no God. That's number one, which is a very low level of thinking. Like, it's unable to read between the lines, see how things connect, anything more than what is there. Second is the mythic or the literal. So we're starting to get to like recognizing multiple people. Like, you do things your way and you do your things your way. You do it right. You do it wrong because of whatever reason I'm making a judgment call, which is something more than just something practical. Like, there has to be multiple ways of seeing things, and you need to reflect on your own way of seeing things to make those judgments. 3 is the synthetic and the conventional. So these are things that you've been taught your whole life in the way that you behave, as opposed to somebody on the different side of the earth or a different culture. So that you act around mom and dad this way, but your friends, you act a different way. So that's a very general thing. Like, you might swear in front of your friends or talk about certain things or act a certain way, but when you're around mom and dad or maybe a teacher or maybe a principal, this is the synthetic conventional. Like, I need to act this way in the things that you believe. Like, well, if I believe this, or if I do this, this is wrong. If I do this, this is right. So it's how you grew up. If you're religious, it's like not swearing, not lying, cheating, stealing. Number 4 is the individuative and the reflective. So now I'm starting to think, okay, I've got all these other people telling me what to do, but I'm thinking about how things I want to do. You're developing your own moral compass is essentially what that is. Next, you get the conjunctive. How does this affect outside of me? So acknowledgement of paradoxes and experiences. So I believe this, but this happened and it's making me think otherwise. And then coming up with how that fits. So, for example, that I am a Christian. And so when I grew up, there were all these other Christians around me, and there was no question. Like, everybody believed the same thing. When I was bartending, I'd have people come up and I'd be like, yeah, I'm a Christian, and try to help them with my Christian faith and everything. And they would hit me with questions that I've never thought of. And it got to be like, I don't know the answer to that. At some point, there's going to be some kind of question out there where you rethink your faith or your morality, I should call it, or your ethics. And so you look at these and you can either change your ethics to conform with the controversy that you have, or you can figure out how that fits into your worldview or your perspective. And then the last one is the universality. And that's how everything affects everything. So at some point, you're going to have some beliefs that are unshakable. And what you consider is conforming to everything, so everything works together. So Kohlberg is dealing with morals, which is essentially the combination of all your beliefs if you are not of religious perspective. So the beginning is the punishment and obedience orientation. So you will do this, otherwise you will be punished. You will go to bed, otherwise you will get a spanking. You will eat your vegetables or you will not get dessert, things like that. So things to reinforce an outside perspective. And this goes back to our good friend Pavlov, but from a more broad perspective. So step 2 is the naive or the hedonism. So conforms to get rewards and to have favors in return. So if I do this, I can get a cookie or a sticker or whatever. Or I'm going to, if I do this, this person will like me. And so you end up really negotiating whether or not you are willing to behave or forego your perspectives. How loose am I going to be on my morals? So you might, for example, there might be a guy with a cool car and you want to ride in that car. So you'll go on a date with him to get that car. Or maybe they can get you concert tickets. And so you'll be friends with this person just to get the concert tickets or something like that. You're foregoing what you know is right to get stuff for yourself. It's very selfish. Next is the good boy, good girl morality. Conforms to avoid disapproval or dislike by others. There are some people that will do anything and everything to make everybody like them always. In reality, it's impossible, and these people usually start cracking very early. Step 4 is conforms to avoid censure by authorities. So I'll do what I need to do to make people just leave me alone. And then step 5 is conforms to maintain communities. So I love my family, but my family is like major polar opposites. Like I've got part of the family that are super liberal, like hates Trump, like all that entails to go with that. And then I've got the other side that are hailing Trump as like savior of the community, and they won't wear masks and things like that. And so here's me kind of in the middle. And I'm like, all right, you guys are too much that way, and you guys are too much that way. I love you, you're my family, and I want you in my life, but ultimately I'm not going to believe the same things that you are. So you can either accept it and I will still love you and we can talk about these things in a healthy manner. But if you're going to come at me, I'm just going to let you go on with your merry little way because like it's not worth me fighting. So conforms to maintain communities, which right now the United States has no clue how to do. And finally, step 6 is individual principles and consciousness. So you can still live in this society. Somehow I do not fit into any of these core categories, but I can negotiate these things and I know what I am. And nothing that this side or anybody else is going to change me from who I am. I am pretty firm with my beliefs, and I will explain myself very precisely, but also very non-confrontationally. And if you don't like that, that's fine.
That's on you.
But I'm going to do my thing. You can do yours.
Period.
So this gets into pre-conventional doesn't know what anything is yet. They're still trying to figure out these people believe this, these people believe this. They're not even ready to start considering what they believe. Conventional is when they start figuring out, okay, this works for me. This is practical. Like I need to do this to get the A. I need to do this so that I don't piss off the teacher. I need to do this so I don't get in trouble. I need to do this so I can get happy things for me too. And then the post-conventional is, all right, I can be uncomfortable in these situations, but I'm still going to be me. These are situations that I am comfortable in, all those things. We are now on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So Maslow was looking at what we need to be healthy. and he makes it into a pyramid, a hierarchy. If you don't have one level, you can't get to the next level. So when I was working in wilderness therapy, this was basically what we based everything on. So when we got clients, we'd have people that were physically abused, who were bulimic, anorexic, drug abusing, starving themselves, were on the streets, all these things. So the first thing that we always worked was, this is where you're going to sleep. You're going to get at least 8 hours of sleep. You're going to eat 3 meals a day. We are going to exercise, and we are going to keep you clothed, and we're going to get you healthy. And one client in particular who was severely drug abusing and lived on the streets, when we got that person was Skeletor. And after about 2 months of being with us in the woods, color back in that person's cheeks, and they were able to hike better. They were fuller looking. They weren't stick person anymore. And you could tell their brain was working better because their body was healthy, just all around. And I called that person out. We'd have these morning and evening therapy sessions, these check-ins. And I called that person out, and I'm like, you look healthy. When you came to us, you looked like crap. And they started bawling, and I'm like, you should feel good about where you are right now. And they were like, I didn't think anybody could see the changes. And I'm like, it's evident. So the first space of Maslow's hierarchy is the physiological needs. So air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing. Reproduction is questionable. Like, you don't really need to reproduce. More of a more modern thing that sex is included in a lot of the health issues. But originally, it's things to keep your body alive. So if you're feeding yourself well, you're eating healthy, you're exercising, you're drinking enough water, things like that, you are going to be a better person. And if you can't do this, none of the other levels matter. That's why bulimia, anorexia, not eating healthy, not drinking enough water is so vital, because your body cannot function without those. Your brain cannot function without those. Next is safety. So going back to this situation of me working in the woods, people would hoard food because they were so used to not knowing where their next meal was going to come from, or they would put tools in their tent because they knew that this was something. They would steal lighters and knives, and it wasn't for personal harm, although that was a concern. But ultimately, they were so used to people abandoning them that they would keep these things on them. When I was working in Milwaukee, we would find in kids' backpacks knives and lighters and things like that, because the knives were how they got into the house. They would have to break into their own house. And the lighters, they would have to start the furnace. And we're talking about second graders. Second graders had to figure out how to turn on the furnace because mom and dad were literally passed out with a needle in their arm. So this personal security first comes with your ability to take care of yourself. But then it also has to deal with employment, like I mentioned before, resources, property, things like that. I want to take care of my stuff so it can take care of me. Next is love and belonging. Like, if you do not take care of yourself, and if you can't make yourself feel safe in this area, how can you build relationships? And this is something that I do really fight for in this classroom, is the ability to feel safe. If people can't feel safe in this classroom, we can't have the conversations or the openness or the safeness that you, I hope, feel. So the love and belonging is being able to listen, being able to talk, being able to, even if we don't believe the same things, talk at a mature level that, hey, this is what I believe, this is what you believe. We might not believe the same things, but we can get along. Next is esteem. So self-respect, self-esteem, recognition by others, being able to do what you want. And a lot of times esteem comes with work, like having a job where you are doing something where you feel valued and that others recognize that value. And this might be monetary. It might be by, you might get a raise. It might be by other things saying, hey, well, if you want to do this or be in charge of this, that's great. Or maybe some putting you in charge of other people or things like that. So a lot of times, and there's nothing against factory work, but a lot of times when you do factory work or computer programming or anything like that, you can get really redundant. It comes in like, okay, I'm going to go to work and I'm going to do the same thing that I've done for the past 20 years and nothing ever changes, blah, blah, blah. If you do that, people become stagnant and they can't have a self-esteem. They can't push themselves to do more and do better. And finally is the self-actualization, the desire to become the most that one can be. I hope that you guys recognize that I try to be the best teacher I can. It's something that excites me. It's something that I think about often. And it's something that I find value in and find that other people, I believe that other people should have value in it. And if you don't have those things, you just go in and do the same thing every day. And who cares if you guys do good on a test or whatnot. So the self-actualization is finding that driving force, the thing that wakes you up in the morning and makes you look forward for the day. So this is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you don't do, honestly, this is probably one of the, in my opinion, the most concrete theories out there. So if you don't follow these things, you won't succeed. Do more, do better.